I never thought the day would come. It was the first day my older brother and I finally had a chance to enjoy each other's company in a long time. He'd always been working ever since my mother passed away. As for me, I was busy pursuing my dreams as a baseball player. My father, who had left my mother before she died, was living in Tokyo, Japan. We don't communicate much. We really never did. I also have a sister. I absolutely despise her, considering the fact she's always been a snobby and annoying brat. It was a Saturday when my brother parties often on the weekend, but due to some strange event that had happened, the party planned on attending was called off. My sister had been in her room listening to music as always. I didn't bother talking to her today because it would have been a result in a fight. That's how it usually goes. She always complains on how I have no respect for her and whatnot, and I'm always disturbing her. Therefore, I was in my room, staring at the ceiling as like I usually did, thinking about what life would be like if Mom was still there. The thought always struck me. My brother told me that she was a cancer victim, considering the fact that I was too young at the time to even remember what had happened. Even though I have siblings who live with me, I never felt more alone than my entire life. While being drawn by thoughts, I failed to notice my brother standing in the doorway of my room. Startled me. "What are you up to?" my brother asked. I gave the typical response I would normally give, as though nothing had been bothering me. "Nothing," I said. He gave me a strange look and pulled something out of his pocket. It looked like to be a cartridge of some sort. The cartridge looks as though it was in very good condition. He tossed it to me and continued to say, "I thought you would get you something. We don't spend much time together, I thought. I play a game with you." He had a huge smile on his face. We had a Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which we never used, simply because we didn't have any games for it. It was a gift from our father. We were both happy to be able to bond with each other. I laughed and continued on to him to tell him that I had been waiting for this for a day. "Just you and me." I picked up the cartridge and read the label in front. "Earthbound" is what I read. I had no idea what I was getting ready myself into. I asked my brother where he got in the game. He avoided the question and told me to start the game. "Did you steal it?" I asked. He smiled at me and replied, "Oh, come on now. I would never go to such measures. I've been saving up to surprise you. This is my gift to you." His smile was fake. It was easily noticeable. It was almost something was bothering me. Ignoring what he said, I continued to put the cartridge into the system. The game started up. Static was going back and forth across the TV screen, when finally some text as well as a picture visible. "Earthbound: The War Against Gygus." The picture looked like an alien invasion and happening in the middle of an unknown town. This game looked awesome. My brother sat down beside me and joined me. The screen faded out and letters started appearing, sorting themselves to the respective to form the word Earthbound. It was very quiet. I turned to my brother to ask him what this game was about, but before I could even pop my mouth, the screen cuts to black. I didn't touch the controller, neither my brother. The screen immediately transitions to what looked like a robot in the middle of nowhere, standing outside what appeared to be a cave. "Get your controller," I frantically told my brother. "The game started," I added. He tried to join in. It would not let him. "So it seems like a single player," he stated, but I looked back at the screen. But we're here together, right? That's all what matters to me," I said. He smiled. Using the controller that it walked towards the cave, my character appeared in a very uneasy environment. The ground looks like a veins of some sort. They were pulsing. As I walked further, I heard a faint voice that had been getting louder as I walked forwards. It got loud enough to the point I could hear it clear. "Shozai no shi no kumon" is what I made out of. I'll never forget it. It was disturbing. My brother had a look on his shock on his face. "Is this a part of the game?" I asked. He didn't reply. I continued throughout the map to only hear a girl screaming. The scream was blood-curdling. It sounded as she was in immense pain. As I kept walking I saw a huge looking figure. I don't know how to describe it. Seemed as though it was an egg in the middle of nowhere in this figure. The music faded in, as I was unable to move my character. The music sounded as though it was being played backwards to the distortion of the sound. Suddenly, something seemed to be hatching from the egg. The egg finally fully opened and a face appeared. The face appeared to be a real photograph of a woman's face. The poor display of pixels made it hard to clear the make out of the woman's facial details, but as far as I'm concerned, she looked shocked. Shortly after a long pause, the woman started to cry. The crying sounded realistic. Her crying got louder and louder to the point where she started to scream. I was covering my eyes. I didn't want to hear it anymore. This was scary. My brother looked puzzled as if he was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. Screaming stopped. It was quiet again. I couldn't move. I started to walk forward, and then I stopped in my tracks. I was unable to move again. Then I heard a demonic voice. It was deep, terrifying from what I have heard of. The voice murmured, "I am happy." The screen cut black. A text box appeared. The text slowly started appearing out of the inside of the text box. Eventually, the sentence finished. "Do you know the truth now? Cry, cry, cry while I slit your female's throat." This didn't make any sense. So then some text appeared. January 22nd, 1976. And the next text box appeared. "Do you know what it feels like to be bullied, rejected? I've been waiting to die." The text box then disappeared. Suddenly it appeared again as though I was engaged in a battle sequence with nobody. The background was moving and red smoke would form to look like a skull's face. There's a loud screaming. The noise during this. At the bottom of the screen was the status bar. Paula was the name that was shown. The game gave me a number of options for the fight, but the only one that seemed to work was an attack called Pray. Since the other abilities and commands were fitted out, I see this and I chose Pray. A text came up and read, "Paula prayed from the bottom of her heart. Please give us the strength. Anyone could hear our plea. Help us." It seemed odd considering the fact that the only character on the playing field was the character we were playing as, Paula. The screen faded to black, followed by a sprite of the character I was playing as laying in the middle of nowhere. The atmosphere was black. The text block was shown. "Don't you love how helpless little girls are? Women are fall under such categories should die, don't you think?" The text scrolled up, revealing more of the text. "Mother, Satan, we are anata no karada o jashoshi kurushinyana shamishio." The screen shifted frames and closed up on the character's face, followed by a loud scream from a woman. It was Paula. She had an upside-down cross on her forehead and Japanese symbols on her cheek. I don't know how much knowledge in Japanese letters. The extent of what I do know is watching anime on my free time. The screaming stop and whisper could be heard. It sounded realistic, no distortions, almost like a voice recording. "Do you love me?" is what I heard. It's what I caught from the whisper. After that, the scream went black and went very quiet. One last text box appeared. "Your dear old dad, Kiyoshi Akubo, is thinking of hitting the hay tonight." The game then froze. My brother didn't say a word. He was shocked. I could see it in his face. I was shaking for some reason. This whole thing had me worried. No, terrified. "Kiyoshi Akubo," my brother whispered under his breath. He grabbed my hand in haste and brought me to his laptop with another gift, which was given to him with our father. He searched the internet to find that Kiyoshi Akubo was the name of a serial killer who was executed on January 22nd, 1976. Throughout researching, we also managed to find out that all of his victims were female and ranged from the ages of 16 to 21. He had accepted his execution willingly. I slammed the laptop down and looked at my brothers in the eyes. I've never portrayed this kind of emotions towards him ever. Where the hell did you get this game from? Tell me! I shouted out while shaking. It reminded me of my mother. He replied, What the hell do you mean? I shouted, Mom, she wasn't a cancer victim. He whispered. She immediately got up and left the room. I hurried after him. He ran outside and got into his car. I ran towards his car as fast as I could, yelling for him to come back, but he refused. He turned his head towards me and said something, but I couldn't hear him over the engine of the car, but I could read his lips. Goodbye, he said. He drove away. Here I was, abandoned by most of the important person in my life. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I didn't want to go back inside. I didn't want to see that game again. I couldn't pull myself together. Tears streamed down my face as I looked in the sky. Why? I thought to myself, what did I do to deserve this, Mother? I fell to my knees, sobbing on my driveway. I've been outside, sitting on my driveway for an hour now. Finally built up the courage to come back inside. I slowly walked in front of the door, walked up the stairs leading to my bedroom, and cracked the door open. Took a peek at this TV screen. The text box was still there. Without even thinking, my first instinct was destroyed. The game. I was trembling. Popped the game out. Smashed the cartridge into pieces with a baseball bat I'd gotten from my sister's room. Not sure what she was doing with it in there. That didn't matter, though. What had me scared was now taken care of. I lay into bed in relief when I suddenly heard the doorbell ring. God, we never have any visitors, I thought to myself. I quietly proceeded down the stairs towards my front door. As I opened the door, I noticed there was a woman. She looked like in her late 40s. Mommy was home from her business trip. How's my little boy? She asked with a wide grin on her face. I was in absolute shock. I didn't know what to say. She knew my name. She proved me that she was really my mother. She knew everything about me, even my favorite food. Nobody knows my favorite food except for my mother. We talked for a while and explained to her everything what happened while she was gone. The game, my brother, everything. She looked as though she was in disbelief and told me the fact that it was all a bad dream, disregarding the fact that I just made myself look like a fucking moron. I just saw no point in even trying to explain this situation. As she would not listen. You're right, I said. I'll just head off to bed. I had trouble sleeping that night, but I was eventually successful doing so. To little notice, I was woken up by what sounded to be an explosion. The house shaking. I couldn't move. I eventually stopped and got off my bed. Surprisingly, I felt calm. Went to check up on my mother as well as my sister to see if they were okay. I got to my sister's room. She immediately turned to me and said, Hey bro, did the sound wake you up? Were you freaked out? I had no words. I then went downstairs to find my brother standing in the middle of our living room. She turned around and said to me, What was that noise? Ness, you don't seem scared. I was scared out of my demolished skull. That boy was me.